Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Ransel, Price and Sports Shorts Daily, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays right here online. And, of course, Sports Shorts Radio Saturday morning from 10 to noon. TK joining us today over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge. I'm at an undisclosed location presented by Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. And we're always presented by LeBear's Casino, where Fridays and Saturday nights, LeBear's the place to be. Edge Lounge on the casino floor. So much fun. Live music starting around 9:30, 10 o'clock, going late into the night. Check it out over at the Edge Lounge. And, of course, the Sportsbook will be rocking, particularly on Sunday for the 4 big-time playoff football games. We'll talk about that a little bit on the show, so go check out that at LeBear's. Tomorrow morning, 10 to noon, we'll be over at Walk-Ons, at the Bruley Walk-Ons. Hunter McCann and myself will have Tommy and Joel Davis and Derry Beckwith and all on the show as well. That's 10 to noon on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Okay, so the big topics we'll get to besides those 4 NFL football games. LSU women's basketball, they bounced back. They had a tough loss a few nights ago against an unranked Auburn team that held them to, I think, only 63 points. That was not the case last night. LSU exploded in the second half, won by 20 on the road at Alabama, so a nice bounce-back win for LSU's women. They'll be back in action on Sunday hosting the men, who are a surprise 3-1. They only won 2 games last year in SEC play. They've won 3 games already in the first 4. They're at home tomorrow, 3 o'clock against A&M. We'll get to that. I've got some thoughts on the Miami Dolphins. I watched the final episode of Hard Knocks on HBO. Again, I always recommend shows. Sometimes Tommy does the homework. Sometimes he doesn't. I've got a recommendation for Hard Knocks. And then finally, the Mickey Loomis press conference and the horns down debacle over in Texas. We'll get to all of those things.
Real quick on that Hard Knocks thing, Ryan. I read somewhere the other day where the Saints are one of like 4 teams that have to be on it next year. There was some kind of contract that with the NFL and whoever's doing Hard Knocks that eventually they get to all teams. Okay, and the Saints are one team that's never been on it, and I forget the other 3 teams. There's like 3 or 4 teams that one of them is going to be forced to be on it next year, and it could be the Saints. Maybe not. We'll see. But I read that just a couple days ago.
It'd be pretty interesting, especially with everything that's going on in the Saints. And we'll start there since you kind of referenced the Saints. They had their big press conference a couple days ago. Mickey Loomis addressed the media. And I know Matt Moscona on ESPN 104.5 made a big deal about it with Mickey Loomis chewing the gum and smacking the gum during his press conference. I saw the press conference for the first time yesterday. I didn't get a chance to see it when it came out the day before. It was busy, so I wanted to watch it yesterday. Oh, my God, Tommy. I mean, like, Mama Janet would be dying, if I would have had a press conference with gum in my mouth. And it's not that he ever caught himself. He went through this whole press conference just smacking away. So unprofessional, so terrible. It's kind of like, where were you raised? I mean, like, it's just, I couldn't believe it. I can't believe that somebody didn't wave their hand. Somebody from the marketing department, PR department, once they realized, oh my God, he's got the gum. Hey, Mickey, listen, hey, can you spit out the gum? Here's a napkin. I mean, like, it was so terrible and unprofessional. It didn't help Mickey Loomis's image, which is right now, getting a little heat. People questioning whether he's the right guy for the job. Should he move to a different role? All this sort of thing. And then he's up there smacking his gum, talking about comparing Dennis Allen in some way to the potential of a Bill Belichick and Bill Walsh and all this stuff, because they had Tom Landry, because they had losing records at the beginning of their career. Like, what? We really honestly think Dennis Allen is potentially going to be a Tom Landry, a Bill Walsh, or a Bill Belichick? I mean, you're well, I don't know what kind of gum that is, but it might have a CBD thing going on or whatever. But it was strange.
Well, we'll see how that ages, Ronnie, because, we talked about when they blew the lead against the Packers in week 3, how we might look back on that. Well, we might look back on Loomis's press conference, and this is how I feel about it. Okay, Mickey Loomis. Yeah, the gum thing was totally out of control. He really should apologize for that. But here's the thing. Okay, Loomis, if it don't work next year, then everybody's gone. Okay, right. They're going to hire some people, and they believe in and Dennis Allen and all these stats are for losers or for people looking for an excuse or a reason. So I'll just say this, Mickey Loomis, you should apologize for the way you presented that. And B, okay, we'll let you play that card and we'll see how it ages. And if we get down the road next year and they win the South, make a little playoff run, then it's going to give it a thumbs up. If the Saints are 7-10 or, they don't make the playoffs and whatever next year, then not only will Dennis Allen be gone, but so will Mickey Loomis, and he can go somewhere else and chew his gum.
The one takeaway from the press conference that I'll give him credit for was the fact that he did admit that it's not good enough and that they maybe they got complacent in some sort of way, and that everybody has to do better, including himself. That is 100% the case. We tied in the Hard Knocks thing. I mean, it would really be interesting this offseason. Imagine if the Saints were the Hard Knocks feature in August. You get a chance to see behind the scenes what that is, what those interactions are like with the players and the coaches. And, what I'm curious about is, with Derek Carr, what is the interactions like with his teammates? Not that they're going to say on camera, we don't like this guy, but, you can kind of oftentimes get a feel for how they this past offseason in August, when the New York Jets were featured on Hard Knocks, to me, that did more to help Aaron Rodgers' image than anything he's done in his career, from a standpoint of, he's an extreme guy. He's very political in his beliefs, and he takes a very liberal slant approach to some things that don't always jive with everybody. But that made him look like a good guy. I mean, Aaron Rodgers looked beloved by his teammates. He looked like he was helping, the young quarterbacks. He wasn't the guy that was just worried about himself. Like, to me, that showed a different side of Aaron Rodgers that I didn't realize. I mean, I didn't know who Aaron Rodgers was, other than the persona you see on the commercials or the stories you hear about him not getting along with his brother and family, So to me, it helped his image. And so the Saints probably could use a little Hard Knocks in their life to help their image.
Yeah. Well, again, they may or may not be the team next year, but they're coming soon, I guess is the best way to say it. We shall see.
One last thing on the Hard Knocks thing. The Miami Dolphins are featured during the in-season. They started doing a few years ago, not just the preseason Hard Knocks, the in-season Hard Knocks. And so obviously the Saints have 2 out of 4 chances of being picked next year. The in-season Hard Knocks, way better than the preseason Hard Knocks. The preseason Hard Knocks is pretty what's the word I'm looking for? It's pretty scripted in the sense that, all right, we're going to feature a couple of rookies, long shot rookies that have a chance, probably don't have a chance to make the team. And if they do, it's an unbelievable story. And then you're going to show them cutting a few guys and those guys getting their heart broken. And then you're going to feature a couple of stars. And then the coach is going to yell at the team. Like, it's kind of somewhat of a cookie cutter formula of what you're going to think you're going to probably see. But the in season is literally week to week, win, lose, whatever. I mean, they're kind of, it's just a roller coaster. It's not so scripted. And the Dolphins have been extremely interesting. Their coach is bizarre. He's a heck of a coach, kind of a mad scientist type guy, Ivy League educated, weird dude. Was an alcoholic, beat alcoholism. I mean, he's got a great personal story. But of course, they started out super great and then collapsed at the end with all the injuries, and then lost 3 in a row to end their season. And so the Miami Dolphins in-season Hard Knocks is fantastic. I urge people to watch it. LSU women's basketball, Tommy. Last night you were all over it. LSU was close at halftime, but then they put their foot on the throat of Alabama in the third quarter.
It was a big win on the road in the conference. And again, they had a 7-point lead late in the second quarter, and that got away from them. It was tied, or they were down a point or two at half. And they came out in the third quarter, outscored Bama by 16, really separated from Bama and kind of cruised through the fourth quarter. So it was a good bounce back after the loss to Auburn. I guess it was the Alabama two-step at Auburn, at Alabama. And it was a good bounce back against a pretty good Alabama team. They had a big crowd, and, they got the win. And they'll host Arkansas this Sunday. So, a lot of players contributed. Morrow and Reese both had double-doubles. So, they played good basketball on both ends of the floor, in particular in the third quarter.
The men is an amazing story. They had, I don't know what the actual attendance was. They, had 8,800 tickets sold for the men the other night. against a ranked top 25 ranked Ole Miss team. LSU was a 3.5-point favorite, covered. And so this men's basketball team, I'm going to go tomorrow, Tommy, at 3:00. I'm going to watch the game in person, get a chance to see what the atmosphere is like, want to see what this basketball team is like. But look, McMahon is to be credited. They have a chance to sweep Texas A&M. A&M was a ranked team preseason. They beat them in College Station the first game of the year. They got a chance to sweep them this Wednesday at home. Now, it's an A&M team that a week ago tomorrow beat Kentucky, who was ranked 6th or 9th or something, top 10 at the time. So A&M's more than capable, obviously, of playing really good or really bad. But 3 wins at this point, shocking. I think over-under wins in Vegas or something was like 4.5, 5 for SEC play. And they're going to that.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's I've talked to some basketball people that really think Matt McMahon can coach, the X's and the O's and, the game management. They really think he's got it, whatever it is. So if he can mold some players, whether it's Wright or Cook and the others that are doing it, and then he's the coach that many people think he is and that Scott Woodward thought he was, then maybe it'll be good things for LSU. But they're kind of a good story right now because they're doing far better than most people thought they would do. I'm sure in their locker room and Matt McMahon's head, he's thinking, hey, we got a chance to be all right because he's with them 24/7. Nobody else really is, basically. So it's a cool story, and we'll see how they do against a decent A&M team tomorrow. Hopefully it's a big crowd at the PMAC.
I think it will be. I think it will be a nice-sized crowd. They had a good almost 2,000 students at the last game. I think it will be a nice crowd. Yeah, I mean, imagine a center. By the way, look over to Lake Charles. McNeese is ranked in the top 25. First time they've ever ranked in the top 25 in the AP era. So congratulations to Will Wade and that team. Imagine a scenario where you had, McMahon as the bench coach for Will Wade, or even vice versa, because they both really kind of need each other. Will Wade could use a little McMahon's X's and O's and coaching in game, and McMahon needs a Will Wade for recruiting. So they really, if you could morph them and put them on the same staff, they would be the ideal combination. That said, I'm glad for McMahon because there was a lot of chatter a couple of weeks ago about, hey, this might be it for him. If he wins 1 or 2 games in the SEC, they might pull the plug before year 3. Obviously with what Will Wade's doing, just 2 hours down the road, being ranked as a Southland Conference team ahead of LSU, that puts added pressure. And now McMahon's starting to have some success on his own, and that's good for him because he is a super nice guy. His staff are super nice guys. They just probably need to ratchet up the dirt bag recruiting part, which is what you got to do nowadays. And I mean, you always had to do it, but now it ain't dirt bag. It's out in the open. Go get the players, and they've got to do a better job of that. The 4 playoff games on Sunday, Tommy, you got a couple of them that big spreads. 49ers are 9.5-point favorites over the Packers at home, and the Ravens are 9.5-point favorites over the Texans at home. But then there are 2 that are within a touchdown. The Lions are 6.5 at home against Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the game of the day, that not only from a spread standpoint, but from just a marquee standpoint, is the Buffalo Bills hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. Buffalo's only a 3-point favorite at home against the Chiefs. I think Buffalo's going to cover the 3. Of all those spreads, that's the one that I probably feel like I think Buffalo is going to cover against the Chiefs. The Chiefs, to me, they don't have the explosiveness, particularly away from home. I think in the cold and atmosphere in Buffalo, the legs of the quarterback are important. Buffalo's got an advantage there. Mahomes doesn't run like he used to. So at home, I like Buffalo in this one a good bit.
Well, actually, 2 of the games are Saturday. The Ravens and 49ers play Saturday, and that's the big favorites. And then, of course, I'm like you, the Bills and the Chiefs. That's the first road playoff game for Patrick Mahomes, not counting Super Bowls, which are obviously neutral site. He's never had a playoff game on the road. Wow. Just the way it's worked out. Okay, and that's a mind-boggling stat. Again, not counting Super Bowl. So I'm like you. I really like the Bills, and I tell you what, call me crazy, but I like the Texans and I like the Packers. I mean, take 9.5 forward starts that strong.
5 to 10. take them.
Last week, I was very impressed with Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud. I mean, these guys are the real deal. Now, that was their first playoff game for each one of them. Now they got the second one, and it's going to be on the road, and we'll see what happens. And 49ers and Ravens are a good team. Many people think the 49ers and the Ravens are the two best teams, and that's who's going to meet in the Super Bowl in Vegas. Keep in mind, next year's Super Bowl is back in New Orleans. But it should be a fun weekend for the divisional round of the NFL.
Out of those two, the Ravens scare me a little bit. I love C.J. Stroud. I think he's the rookie of the year, even though obviously the wide receiver from the Rams will have something to say about that. But the Lamar Jackson and what the Ravens have done this year, they've beat all comers, especially the better the team, the better the win, and they've just been clicking and they're rested. So that one is rookie on the road going. I would probably lay off that one for me. But if I'm a Packers, though, I would buy the half a point, buy it up to 10, and then take the Packers. That way, if they lose by 10, you get a little push action online. That's that one. If I got to bet one of the two on Saturday, I would take that one, buy the half a point, and take the Packers. Bucks Lions is an interesting line. 6.5 are the Lions. Both teams have been up and down. Both teams have had some really disappointing losses. Some teams have had some big wins. I think Baker Mayfield and the Bucks are a little bit of the wild card, even though they won the division, because how healthy is Baker? Now they're away from home. They're in that tough atmosphere, but the Lions are in uncharted territory. They're not used to being in this situation. So you got, it's a little bit of a weird game for me. I'm going to leave it alone and watch it as a fan, and I'm going to take the Bills on Sunday, and I'm going to bet the Packers on Saturday. Those are going to be the two games. But if I had to bet Lions and Bucks, I think I would take the Lions.
Yeah, I would too, because they're at home, and the weather won't be an issue, obviously, in the dome. So, that's why they call it gambling. You can look at it, but Ronnie, when you get back to buying that half point to get it to 10, about 3 years ago, double-digit dogs in the NFL hit like 70% of the time against the spread. Not that they go in straight up. So, and I don't know if that stat is still that accurate, but, in the NFL, if I can get two playoff teams who are playing good football and I can have 9.5 or 10 points before it starts, I kind of like that feeling. Now, again, we don't know what's going to happen, but when you got 10 before it starts, that's huge, especially in a playoff thing where a turnover or a big stop on third or fourth down can really swing some momentum. I don't think any four of these games are going to be a blowout. I really don't.
And look at the Packers. They're playing with ultimate confidence. They go on the road and destroy a Cowboys team and hang almost 50 on them. They obviously feel pretty good about themselves. Tomorrow morning, Sports Church Radio, 10 to noon, 104.5 ESPN. Check us out. We'll be each and every Saturday. We'll be at the Bruley Walk-Ons. Tom, before we go, I know it is a subject that kind of irritated you, and it got a lot of traction on Twitter and everything like that, and that is the University of Texas and Oklahoma, of course, are going to be joining the SEC starting this fall. The horns down situation over at Texas has been happening for years. You go back to when LSU played over there in 2019 with Joe Burrow. I remember them talking about it. There was a horns down controversy a couple of days ago involving Central Florida beating University of Texas in basketball that has gotten you and everybody hot.
Well, here's the thing, Ronnie. Dear Texas, okay, I hope that somebody gets a word of this. Dear Texas, quit being soft. If you're coming into the SEC and you're soft, like this projection is, you're in big trouble. Look, Texas has got all the money in the world. They got some great athletic programs, men's and women's. They had the Big 12 pass a rule that you couldn't do horns down. Well, here's what I say, and this might be the most profound thing I've ever said in the history of Sports Shorts Daily. Okay,
that's
okay. If you say you can't do horns down because they're being taunted, well, then they can't do horns up because that's taunting the other team because they're doing horns up. So if horns down's not allowed, they can't do horns up. Forget it, okay? When they get to Mississippi State with the cowbells and Gainesville with the student section, and I can go down at Athens, Georgia, when they're going to be barking at them all day, they're not going to be able to take it. That's going to affect the psyche of everything. Dear Texas, it's a tough world out there. You know, there's so much money involved. Quit being soft. And if you don't like horns down, do not do horns up. I mean, what's fair is fair. I mean, you can't have it both ways, Texas, where you can't feel like you're being taunted, but yet you can taunt others with the horns up when you have a comeback win. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
What's funny is that their head coach went to the press conference and sort of whined and complained or whatever, talking about it. And I'll tell you that, to me, you're making life worse for yourself by bringing it up and addressing it and saying, we don't like it when you do that, and that's not classy, and you shouldn't do it. People are gonna do it tenfold now, even more exactly. So. Every time they complain, they make it worse on themselves, instead of ignoring it.
If they would ignore it and let some people do it when they want to, and then when they have a nice win or a comeback win, they can do horns up. But you can't have it both ways, Texas. If you don't want people doing horns down, you can't do horns up. End of story.
All right. Please like and share this video. Be back on Monday morning for more Sports Shorts Daily around 9:30 a.m. Central Time. TK, tell us about Tremonti's on the way out.
Deer processing, a lot of deer hunters in here every day getting all that stuff done. All the wine and liquor you need for the cold weekend. Fried catfish with crawfish etouffee for the lunch special today. They got specialty cheeses. They got slim sticks. So many things at Tremonti's. That's why you need to stop by on Jefferson Highway in Baton Rouge. Connect on Instagram and Facebook. Mike and the staff do a super job. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. If you have not been here, you need to make a plan to stop by. You'll be amazed at all the things they have in here, from the wine, the bourbon, the liquor, to the sausage and the Chairman's Reserve meats. They got it all here. Many of you know that. If you hadn't stopped in, do it real soon. Hey, don't forget tomorrow morning, Sports Shorts Radio, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, the usual cast of characters. And important, please like and share this show. Like and share this show, YouTube, on Twitter, Facebook, however you're getting it. Tell everybody about it. We're ready to blow it all up with some LSU baseball. It's around the corner, and all the hot topics in the sports world. On behalf of Ronnie Rance, my name's Tommy Chrysan. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend.